Suppose I revealed that certain kernels you consume throughout life could be actively harming your neurological wellness at this moment. And imagine if one straightforward dietary shift might potentially grant extra years to your mental acuity. Listen, I seldom create content this forthright, but after observing what transpired with my own dear father, I felt compelled to share. Please watch through to the conclusion, because I intend to disclose the precise first light habit that is aiding countless older adults in regaining their sharp focus. This is information the processed food sector would rather keep under wraps. I need you to grasp a deeply significant concept that few are discussing. As individuals mature, their systems metabolize nourishment in a distinct manner. Particularly kernels. What was beneficial in your 40s or 50s may turn problematic in your 60s, 70s, or even later. This isn't merely about food intolerances or reactions. It's about a more profound physiological alteration occurring within our bodies as we get older, especially influencing how we break down specific lipid compounds and elements present in certain kernels. Scientific investigations into this have subtly surfaced over the last 12 years, yet seldom grab major attention since, frankly, little financial incentive exists to advise against particular food items. The wellness product market encourages indiscriminate purchasing of everything available. However, I'm here to convey what your physician likely hasn't. For mature individuals especially, the choice of kernels is tremendously vital for neurological wellness, cardiovascular performance, and overall extended well-being. What you are on the verge of discovering transformed everything for my relatives, and I am convinced it could offer the same for you or those you care about. A personal awakening. About 4 years back, my father began experiencing memory lapses. Minor ones, initially misplacing his spectacles, a colleague's name, the current day. We all dismissed it as typical age-related forgetfulness. He was 71 after all, but then the day arrived when he called me, disoriented about preparing his morning tea, a ritual he'd performed daily for 45 years. That was the moment I realized something was gravely amiss. Medical professionals conducted evaluations, spoke of standard cognitive decline, and provided scant hope beyond pharmaceuticals, with adverse reactions that appeared more troubling than the issue itself. I could not accept that this intelligent man, who had established his own enterprise, nurtured 3 offspring, and once could recall verses by heart, was simply fated to suffer cognitive deterioration incrementally. Consequently, I immersed myself in extensive study, liaising with experts in aging and brain science professionals operating beyond conventional healthcare. My findings regarding the link between particular foods and cerebral inflammation were transformative, especially concerning kernels, which had consistently been a regular part of my father's supposedly cardiac beneficial eating plan. An unseen threat. Here's what a majority of people fail to grasp. Not all kernels are alike, and some can indeed hasten the fading of mental sharpness in older adults owing to their unique lipid compositions and inflammation-inducing characteristics. The initial kernel mature individuals should handle with prudence is the cashew. While tasty and seemingly benign, cashews possess one of the highest sugar and starch levels among kernels, potentially leading to troublesome glucose surges in older persons whose insulin responsiveness has naturally waned. These glucose fluctuations are directly associated with heightened mental cloudiness and reduced mental capacity over time. Furthermore, cashews harbor oxalates, substances that might foster an inflammatory response in susceptible people, notably those beyond 70 whose bodies' cleansing systems operate less effectively than before. This internal agitation doesn't just remain in the digestive system. It circulates systemically and can impact neural structures, fostering cognitive decline. Many misinterpret as merely a consequence of aging, yet there's nothing merely about memory erosion, the loss of your core self, your very identity. An unexpected kernel. The second kernel on our advisory list could be surprising: peanuts. Being legumes, technically not true kernels, peanuts pose multiple issues for mature individuals prioritizing neurological wellness. Firstly, they are a frequent carrier of aflatoxins, microscopic poisons from fungi that can flourish on peanuts. As we grow older, our capacity to eliminate these harmful substances lessens, letting them build up and possibly add to neurological strain. Studies indicate connections between prolonged aflatoxin exposure and reduced mental capacity, especially in older adults with already weakened defenses. Moreover, peanuts feature an imbalanced omega-3 to omega-6 essential fat ratio, which tends to encourage inflammatory states instead of alleviating them. For the maturing brain, already contending with natural inflammatory challenges, this supplementary inflammatory burden from a daily peanut indulgence can accelerate cognitive difficulties. I observed my father finding it hard to recall his grandchildren's names while eating handfuls of peanuts daily, his wholesome snack. The link grew undeniable. A concealed detriment. The third kernel mature individuals should re-evaluate is the Brazil nut, with a significant disclaimer. Although Brazil nuts are exceptional repositories of selenium, a potent antioxidant crucial for neurological wellness, their advantage rapidly turns into a disadvantage with excessive intake. Just 3 Brazil nuts might furnish over 100% of your daily selenium requirement. For older adults consistently consuming them by the handful, this could result in excessive selenium effects, with symptoms like Cusinus agitation and, in serious instances, neurological harm that resembles early signs of dementia. I have encountered well-meaning older individuals incorporating Brazil nuts into their daily diet, unaware they are potentially ingesting too much selenium. The cognitive repercussions of this surplus can be especially baffling because they often manifest as memory issues or emotional shifts, things commonly ascribed to just getting older, rather than a fixable dietary concern. This is particularly worrying as these symptoms are infrequently linked back to what appears to be such a beneficial food. A surprising hazard. The fourth kernel necessitating caution might be the most debated on this list: commercially produced almonds. While almonds per se provide immense advantages, the issue rests with how mass-market almonds are processed. In numerous nations, most are subjected to synthetic processing and pest control measures that leave leftover substances which older adults maturing purifying mechanisms find hard to clear effectively. These chemical loads can contribute to what brain specialists now term toxin accumulation impact, a condition where accumulated environmental toxins start to affect mental capacity. Mature individuals are especially susceptible as their protective brain shield becomes more penetrable with age, granting these toxins easier passage to delicate nerve structures. Additionally, commercially produced almonds frequently contain greater amounts of inflammatory omega-6 lipid compounds due to current agricultural methods, presenting another potential origin of cerebral inflammation. When my father transitioned from commercial to naturally grown, truly unprocessed almonds as an element of his neurological wellness plan, we observed enhancements in his mental responsiveness within a few weeks, an outcome his physicians had asserted would be unachievable, a vital alteration. Now let's discuss profound change. When my father started to remove these problematic kernels and incorporate the 4 cognition-enhancing substitutes I am about to detail, we observed transformations the conventional medical community had deemed unattainable. His mental cloudiness began to dissipate. His instances of memory failure grew less common. His character, that unique essence defining an individual, started to re-emerge. The physician who had informed us this decline was simply a feature of aging could not account for the progress in his mental acuity assessments 5 months on. But we understood. We had found what pioneering brain specialists and experts in aging are just starting to comprehend, that particular foods exert specific influences on the maturing brain, and making calculated swaps can genuinely alter the path of mental maturation. This is not about instantaneous remedies. It's about collaborating with your body's evolving chemistry to provide your brain precisely what it requires while steering clear of what harms it. Ancestral understanding. It's remarkable how much of what contemporary nutritional science is revealing about neurological wellness was recognized in age-old wellness systems generations ago. In Eastern ancestral medicine, specific kernels were particularly recommended for elders to preserve what they termed Shen, essentially mental vitality and spirit. The types of kernels advised closely align with what our modern scientific investigations are validating regarding inflammation, reducing agents, and neurologically targeted nourishment. Likewise, Indian traditional healing classified kernels based on their impact on the maturing body, with advice that corresponds surprisingly closely with current discoveries about which kernels bolster neurological health in mature individuals. It appears our forebears intuitively grasped connections we are only now validating through scientific inquiry. This blending of old knowledge with pioneering research underpins the advice I am about to offer, advice that assisted my father in regaining mental capacity when standard medicine offered no viable solutions. A cognitive reawakening. Allow me to present the first cognition-enhancing kernel that ought to be a daily fixture for every mature individual concerned about mental wellness: walnuts. There's a rationale. These kernels physically resemble miniature cerebral forms. They are nature's ideal sustenance for mental capacity. Walnuts boast the greatest quantity of alpha-linolenic acid, alpha, a vegetable-derived omega-3 lipid compound among all kernels. This particular omega-3 variant has been proven to traverse the protective brain shield efficiently, nourishing nerve structures and fostering the creation of new nerve pathways, even in maturing brains previously considered relatively unchangeable in their structure. A significant study from a leading California research institution showed that walnut intake specifically corresponded with enhanced cognitive evaluations in older adults, irrespective of other variables. Moreover, walnuts are rich rich in potent antioxidants that assist in counteracting free radical harm in brain cells, harm that intensifies notably as we age. When my father began taking just a small handful of walnuts each day around 6, we observed improvements in his ease of speech and memory retrieval within weeks. The scientific investigations suggest this was not mere chance but his brain reacting to exactly what it was missing: cellular defense. The second kernel meriting a lasting spot in every mature individual's diet is the pecan. Frequently disregarded for more uncommon choices, pecans possess distinct antioxidants known as proanthocyanidins that have shown impressive results in safeguarding maturing brain cells. These substances have a special attraction to nerve structures, aiding in protecting delicate brain components from the oxidative harm that speeds up cognitive decline. What renders pecans particularly beneficial for older adults is their substantial vitamin E content, a nutrient that gains increasing importance for neurological wellness after 70. Numerous long-term research projects have shown that adequate vitamin E consumption strongly correlates with sustained mental capacity in later life. Yet a vast majority, nearly 85%, of older individuals are deficient in this vital nutrient. Pecans also supply monounsaturated fats that foster good circulation, crucial for transporting oxygen and nutrients to the brain. When my father incorporated a small portion of pecans into his first light habit alongside the walnuts, his brain specialist observed enhancements in his mental quickness that defied all predictions for someone with his initial assessment. A memory uplift. The third kernel deserving acknowledgement for its extraordinary brain-shielding qualities is the pistachio. These unique green kernels harbor substances that specifically bolster blood vessel condition, critically vital since robust blood vessels are fundamental for mental capacity. The synergy of antioxidants, B-group vitamins, and specific plant substances in pistachios aids in preserving the soundness of the minute blood vessels nourishing brain structures. As we grow older, these tiny vessels frequently suffer damage from processes like glycation and oxidation, culminating in diminished brain circulation and the unnoticed minor brain events that significantly contribute to cognitive decline. Consistent pistachio intake has been linked with better cholesterol and fat levels and improved blood vessel expansion, the capacity of blood vessels to widen suitably to ensure optimal blood flow precisely where required. Furthermore, pistachios provide lutein and zeaxanthin, carotenoids generally linked with vision wellness but now acknowledged for their contribution to maintaining mental capacity as well. The neuro-optical link is substantial, and these nutrients support both systems concurrently, a neurological asset. The fourth kernel that completes our cognition-enhancing protocol is possibly the most undervalued in Western dietary understanding: the modest pine nut. These petite, tapered kernels have been esteemed in ancestral healing practices for eons, specifically for their effects on neurological wellness and enduring mental sharpness. Contemporary research substantiates our ancestors' insights. Pine nuts contain outstanding amounts of pinolenic acid, an uncommon lipid compound that assists in controlling inflammatory responses via several pathways. For mature individuals whose cerebral inflammation typically rises with age, this inherent inflammation-reducing effect can be life-altering. Pine nuts also furnish considerable levels of manganese, a mineral vital for cellular energy production in brain cells. Mitochondria are the cellular energy centers, and their performance naturally wanes with age, but appropriate nourishment can markedly decelerate this decline. During my father's path to recovery, incorporating just a tablespoon of pine nuts daily into his regimen coincided with distinct improvements in his energy levels and sustained focus. He could concentrate for longer periods without experiencing mental exhaustion, a frequent difficulty in cognitive decline. A morning regimen. Now, permit me to outline the exact daily regimen that revolutionized my father's mental wellness, a straightforward practice anyone can adopt, irrespective of cooking prowess or available time. It's not intricate, and that is precisely its strength. The most effective interventions are frequently the most maintainable. Each morning he mixes 1 tablespoon each of freshly pulverized walnuts, pecans, and pine nuts, what we now refer to as his mental focus blend. He incorporates this blend into natural unsweetened yogurt along with a teaspoon of premium natural sweetener, locally sourced and unprocessed if available, and a light dusting of Ceylon cinnamon, which itself has impressive research supporting its benefits for neurological wellness. This simple concoction supplies his maturing brain with the exact nutrients needed to combat inflammation, foster new nerve pathways, safeguard existing structures, and optimize blood supply to the brain. The yogurt's beneficial bacteria promote digestive wellness, which studies increasingly indicate is directly linked to brain performance via the digestive neural pathway. The entire preparation requires less than 3 minutes yet yields advantages that persist throughout the day: lasting vitality, better memory retrieval, enhanced emotional balance, and Progressively, a recovery of mental capacities we were informed were irretrievably lost. The research basis. I wish to be entirely open about the science underpinning these suggestions because comprehending why is equally as vital as knowing what to implement. The brain shielding benefits of the kernels I've suggested arise from various mechanisms operating in concert. Firstly, they all contribute complementary antioxidants that aid in neutralizing the harm from unstable molecules, which escalate sharply in the maturing brain. Secondly, they supply specific lipid compounds that act as foundational elements for nerve cell coverings and nerve fiber insulation, the protective layers around nerve fibers that often degrade with age. Thirdly, they harbor substances that adjust brain-specific inflammation through multiple biochemical routes, tackling one of the main catalysts of cognitive decline. Fourthly, they offer nutrients that bolster healthy brain blood vessel operation, guaranteeing optimal blood supply to brain structures. And fifthly, they contain elements shown to encourage brain adaptability, the brain's capacity to forge new connections and adjust, once believed to diminish markedly with age, but now recognized as viable throughout life with adequate support. This holistic method addresses not merely a single facet of brain aging, but the whole interconnected framework, more than statistics. What I am imparting extends beyond scientific articles and human studies, though those certainly back our strategy. The genuine validation appeared in observing my father progressively return to his former self. 5 months after instituting these adjustments, he phoned me one morning, eager to recount a dream he'd experienced, a dream where he recalled early life recollections with perfect vividness. I believed those memories had vanished forever, he confided, his voice trembling, but they were simply awaiting my rediscovery. 3 months thereafter, he independently recalled all his grandchildren's birth dates, details that had been entirely out of reach for him a year prior. At his subsequent mental evaluation, his physician was so taken aback by the enhancements that he requested a thorough account of all our changes. When we detailed our protocol, he was initially doubtful but could not refute the outcomes shown in the assessments. Whatever your methods are, he eventually conceded, continue with them. Now 18 months on, my father facilitates a cognitive wellness community in his locality, recounting his experience and aiding other older adults in adopting these same approaches. The man who once struggled to recall how to prepare tea now remembers intricate information from scientific health publications. He studies to remain current on neurological wellness. A collective oversight. There's something deeply unsettling about our societal approach to cognitive decline in our older population. We've accepted forgetfulness, disorientation, and reduced mental prowess as simply a part of growing older, as if losing one's cognitive abilities is an unavoidable penalty for a long life. This resigned perspective benefits no one, except perhaps sectors that gain from reliance and deterioration. The reality emerging from pioneering research in brain adaptability and diet, brain science presents a starkly different account, that substantial elements of cognitive decline might be avoidable and in certain instances, partly improvable through targeted nutritional strategies and lifestyle adjustments. While hereditary factors and accumulated life experiences undoubtedly contribute, the brain's extraordinary capacity to adapt and react to suitable nourishment stays robust well into our advanced years. This isn't about refuting the existence of conditions like Alzheimer's disease or vascular dementia. It's about acknowledging that within the range of mental maturation, we possess far greater influence than previously understood. My father's experience serves as tangible evidence that viewing cognitive decline as fated does a profound disservice to millions of mature individuals who could gain from interventions as elementary as altering their daily kernel consumption. Practical advice for application. Now allow me to touch upon some pragmatic facets of putting these changes into action, because theory without practice alters nothing. Firstly, sourcing quality is paramount. Choose naturally farmed varieties of these kernels whenever feasible, particularly for walnuts and pecans, which are among the crops most extensively subjected to chemical crop treatments. Secondly, non-stale items are essential. The beneficial fats in kernels are fragile and can spoil when subjected to heat, light, and air for prolonged durations. Procure kernels in modest amounts, keep them in sealed storage in the refrigerator, and think about freezing portions you won't consume within 4 weeks. Thirdly, soaking for benefits can notably enhance nutrient absorbability. Merely soaking kernels in filtered water for roughly 7 hours eliminates digestion blockers that can impede digestion and nutrient uptake, especially vital for older adults whose nutrient breakdown capability has naturally lessened. Fourthly, pulverizing kernels just before eating ensures optimal nutrient retention and improved digestibility. A basic bean pulverizer set aside solely for kernels makes this task swift and straightforward. And fifthly, regular intake is more crucial than volume. Small daily portions yield more advantage than larger quantities eaten irregularly. Widespread myths. Before proceeding, I must clarify some common misunderstandings that could hinder people from effectively adopting these suggestions. Firstly, the belief that all kernels are identical regarding health advantages. As discussed, the distinct nutrient compositions and substances in various kernels exert markedly different influences on the maturing brain. Secondly, the incorrect idea that uncooked nuts are invariably superior to heat-treated ones. While uncooked nuts retain certain delicate nutrients, gentle roasting can actually improve the absorbability of other substances. The crucial factor is to steer clear of high-heat industrial heating methods. Thirdly, the notion that natural farming only applies to fruits and vegetables, not kernels. In truth, the substantial fat content in kernels renders them especially proficient at absorbing and accumulating chemical crop treatments, making naturally farmed options considerably better for neurological wellness. Fourthly, the assumption that kernel allergies render all these advantages unattainable. Numerous individuals with allergies to specific kernels can safely eat others from distinct plant groups. And fifthly, the mistaken belief that these dietary strategies are somehow contradictory to standard healthcare practices. In reality, they enhance appropriate medical attention, and any mature individual with cognitive issues should collaborate with medical professionals while employing nutritional approaches. A broader understanding. What makes these particular dietary interventions so effective is how accurately they cater to the specific difficulties of the mature mind. As we enter our senior phase, several vital alterations take place that are not sufficiently met by general dietary guidance. The protective brain shield becomes more penetrable, permitting more toxins and inflammatory substances to access nerve structures. Cellular energy production wanes, diminishing the energy accessible to brain cells. The creation of acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter crucial for recollection and knowledge acquisition, falls off significantly. Brain-specific inflammation rises through various routes, and perhaps most critically, brain structures become more susceptible to oxidative harm while concurrently generating more unstable molecules through standard metabolism. Each of the advised kernels harbors substances that specifically counteract these age-related alterations. Walnuts offer ALA, which aids in preserving membrane soundness in neural cells. Pecans provide unique antioxidants that neutralize the specific unstable molecules most detrimental to brain structures. Pistachios bolster vascular condition, ensuring sufficient blood supply to the brain. And pine nuts contribute inflammation-reducing substances that help manage the neuroinflammation, accelerating cognitive decline. A worldwide view. It's intriguing to note that societies with historically low incidences of cognitive decline frequently feature these particular kernels regularly in their traditional foodways. Mediterranean populations, where walnut intake ranks among the highest globally, exhibit notable mental fortitude into advanced age. Certain areas in China, where pine nuts have been esteemed as life-extending sustenance for centuries, display similar trends of sustained mental capacity. Native peoples in North America who ancestrally consumed pecans regularly have recorded histories of elders preserving exceptional mental sharpness into their later years. These observations from varied traditional cultures offer practical evidence for what controlled research is now substantiating: that particular foods can substantially shape cognitive paths in aging groups. While association isn't definitive proof of cause, these uniform patterns across diverse genetic groups point to something fundamentally shielding about these specific dietary components, something contemporary science is only now starting to fully grasp. Everyday use. Let me suggest some feasible methods to integrate these cognition-enhancing kernels into your daily schedule beyond the first light habit I detailed previously. For individuals who do not prefer yogurt, the pulverized kernel blend can be incorporated into a morning blended breakfast drink with berries, themselves potent brain foods, and a plant-based milk alternative like almond or oat milk. Another possibility is to mix the ground kernels into porridge along with cinnamon and perhaps a few blueberries for added neurological advantages. For the midday meal, a tablespoon or two of the blend can be scattered over salads, offering not just brain nourishment but also a pleasing texture and taste improvement. Some older adults find it beneficial to prepare a weekly supply of nutrient-dense snacks, mixing the ground kernels with a bit of honey, cinnamon, and perhaps dried cherries or blueberries, thus creating handy, portioned brain sustenance they can savor as snacks during the day. The aim is to discover preparations that are both delightful and easy to maintain, as regular intake yields the most significant rewards. Even the most wholesome foods offer minimal benefit if they go uneaten due to unappealing flavor or difficult preparation. A comprehensive viewpoint. While our main topic today has been kernels specifically, I would be neglectful not to situate these suggestions within the wider framework of brain shielding living. The advantages of these kernels are magnified when paired with other components of a neuroprotective way of life: consistent exercise that boosts blood supply to the brain, restful slumber that permits vital brain upkeep and solidifying memories, coping strategies for tension that lessen cortisol's detrimental impacts on brain structures, mental engagement through acquiring new abilities and tackling fresh challenges, and interpersonal activity that offers emotional comfort and intricate social exchanges, exercising multiple brain areas concurrently. My father's notable progress stemmed not solely from altering his kernel intake, but from integrating those nutritional adjustments within a holistic strategy for neurological wellness that encompassed all these elements. The kernels supplied crucial foundational materials, but the complete lifestyle method established the environment for his brain to use those nutrients most effectively. Looking ahead, as you contemplate adopting these suggestions, I recommend a careful, watchful method. Mental wellness typically doesn't transform instantly. Just as deterioration usually occurs bit by bit, enhancements generally emerge over weeks and months, not days. Maintain a straightforward log noting alterations in particular facets of mental capacity: ability to retrieve names or words, sense of direction, focus span, mental energy, emotional balance, and sleep quality, which frequently improves with cognitive function. These notes offer useful insights about what is effective and what might require modification. For some older adults, the complete protocol I've outlined yields noticeable advantages within weeks. For others with more deep-set mental difficulties, it might take 3 to 5 months before substantial improvements become evident. The factors influencing response duration include current dietary condition, general health status, drug effects, digestive wellness and nutrient uptake rate, and the length and intensity of cognitive issues before starting. Endurance and determination are vital companions on this path, a strengthening reality. As we approach our conclusion, I wish to impart perhaps the most crucial insight gained from my family's experience with cognitive decline and subsequent improvement. Personal control is possible even where we've been informed it isn't. The common story about brain aging, that decline is unavoidable and largely beyond treatment, acts as a belief that becomes true for millions of mature individuals who resign themselves to diminishing function as their inescapable destiny. This narrative endures not due to scientific backing, but because it suits systems ill-equipped to champion cognitive optimization in our aging populace. The actual situation is far more encouraging. While we cannot dictate all elements of brain aging, we wield considerable influence over many factors shaping cognitive paths. An action as straightforward as thoughtfully choosing which kernels to include or exclude from your daily diet can trigger biochemical sequences with profound impacts on brain performance. My father's account is not extraordinary or unique. It merely illustrates what is achievable when we challenge resigned beliefs about aging and instead make knowledgeable, deliberate decisions grounded in new scientific findings paired with ancestral wisdom concerning nourishing the maturing brain. A final reflection. Let me offer you this concluding idea, one that fundamentally altered my perspective on aging and neurological wellness. The human brain, irrespective of age, stays exceptionally adaptable to our treatment of it. Until my father's final moment, his brain circuits will persist in adjusting, forging new pathways, and reacting to the nourishment he offers, whether that nourishment aids or harms his mental capacity. The same holds for every one of us and for every mature individual we cherish. This malleable, adaptive feature of our brains never entirely vanishes, though it might necessitate more precise, steady support as we grow older. The 4 kernels to sidestep cashews, peanuts, excessive Brazil nuts, and commercially produced almonds can impose harmful inflammatory and toxic loads that hasten cognitive decline. The 4 kernels to welcome, walnuts, pecans, pistachios, and pine nuts, furnish particular substances that bolster neural health, lessen inflammation, shield against oxidative harm, and foster healthy blood supply to the brain. This insight isn't merely intriguing data. It's a potent instrument for anyone anxious about preserving or enhancing mental capacity in their senior phase. Our consistent daily actions gradually influence our brain health future. Every morning when my father readies his kernel mixture, he isn't merely preparing a meal. He's actively deciding the state of mind he'll possess tomorrow, next year, and in the years ahead. That identical choice is open to you at this very instant. What path will you select? A concluding message. Before you depart, I want you to genuinely appreciate the influence you possess. Cognitive decline isn't an unavoidable outcome. It's a course affected by innumerable daily decisions, including significant nutritional choices like those we've explored today. If you or someone dear to you is apprehensive about neurological wellness with aging, recall that action surpasses information invariably. Don't merely view this content and proceed. Initiate one tangible measure today. Even if it's as elementary as clearing cashews from your kitchen or incorporating 6 walnuts into tomorrow's breakfast, the path of mental recovery and safeguarding unfolds one day, one meal, one kernel at a time. Your brain is attentive to every decision you make. Opt to nourish it thoughtfully, regularly, and with the specific sustenance it most requires as you mature. The distinction between cognitive difficulty and cognitive clarity frequently hinges on these apparently minor, yet biochemically impactful decisions. Your later being is shaped by your current deeds. Choose sagely with the understanding you now possess.